respectively, in 2015. He also oversaw those roles for the Dallas Stars, Mesquite Championship Rodeo, and the various other entities associated with the Rangers until they split in 2010. His responsibilities include all the company's human resources, operations, as well as a wide variety of benefit plans associated with the major and minor league clubs. Additionally, risk and safety assessment for workers' compensation, general liability, property, and other aspects for all the team venues fall under his areas of responsibility. He serves on the Workers' Compensation and General Liability Insurance Task Force for Major League Baseball. Prior to entering the sports entertainment industry, Terry was Human Resources Director for 300 attorney law firms in Dallas for 11 years. He was president of the Dallas Association of Legal Administrators during this part of his career. Terry's other industry experience includes human resources in commercial real estate development and management, a multinational oil and gas holding company, and life and health insurance company. Terry has obtained accreditation through SHRM, that's the Society of Human Resources Management, and a human resource specialty in the Insurance Industry of Educational Program, FLMI. He has an MBA and a BBA and a BS, I'm sorry, with honors and emphasis in economics and management from what now is Texas A&M Commerce. Terry and his wife Claire live in Dallas. He has 3 grown children, Kevin, Kyle, and Hillary. Now, folks, if you remember me ever having a conversation with y'all in the last 3 years about do you have land or do you have enough land or know somebody with enough land that somebody could go hog hunting, it was for him. And so he still came even though you didn't have the land. So what he doesn't tell you about is Terry, Rita bought a picture that had the 3 presidents of Texas: George Bush Sr., George Bush Jr., and Nolan Ryan. So Terry told Terry, I said, got this picture, I'd like to have Nolan sign it. And his comment to me was, you better hurry, he may not come back from spring training. That was the year that Nolan left. So we got it over there and he got Nolan to sign it. He also did talk about that he played the Masters in Augusta 3 years ago. And Rita and Terry played golf in our tournament at Holly Lake this afternoon. And they won it. And he also parred 5 holes at the Masters. So I can't count that high if I were ever to go up there. One of the last things, I'll let Terry talk, when we first moved here, I was having rotator cuff problems with my arm, and Terry said, well, come to Dallas and I'll get you hooked up with the Texas Rangers doctors. And I said, nah, Terry, that's a long way. And he said, but these are good doctors. I said, I know. I said, he said, Mike, he said, what do you call a doctor that finishes last in his class? I said, I don't know. He said, a doctor. And he said, and where do we send them? He said, Tyler. So I hooked up, and Terry got me hooked up with the Texas Rangers doctor. And I got to tell you, they treated me just like I was a pro athlete. They just the most professional group of people. And as soon as I told them who recommended me, they welcomed me with open arms and treated me like I was somebody. And little did they know. But I'd like to now introduce my very best friend, Terry Turner.
Who was that guy? I don't even know who. Wow, I've really done all that. I hope there weren't any doctors in here from Tyler, Texas. All my in-laws live in Tyler, Texas, so it's great to have. I want to tell you a little bit about how, first of all, I brought T-shirts. because people will do anything for a t-shirt. Jump out of buildings and I think these are colorful enough. You could probably work in our parking lot if you want those. So I think I've got enough t-shirts for everybody. We also have I have some game used baseballs. You know when the umpire takes the ball and says, he throws it away? This is what these are, the game used. We've got about 5 of them, and somebody's got some questions.
You got some questions. Do you want to give them out now?
Oh, sure.
Oh, well, all right.
Got to get this party started.
Let's see, I'm going to ask the question, and then you'll see what kind of response you get.
Are we any baseball fans here at all?
One question. If I get this answer right, do I get a baseball?
Yeah, that's the point.
Well, there may be more than one person who gets it. He'll have to determine who gets the baseball.
But also, there's probably somebody here that knows all the answers. So you can only win one time.
Okay, well, I'm ineligible, and so is Mike, because I went over the questions with him. Question number 1. When did the Texas Rangers come to the Metroplex?
72.
That's right.
There you go.
You were first.
That was the first answer. I heard it too. Okay. When did the Texas Rangers first make it to the playoffs?
93?
86.
Wasn't it
95.
Put your hand up.
Was 95?
Oh.
Okay, here's one for all of you old folks.
I'm old.
Who was the first manager of the
Ted
Texas
Williams.
Rangers? Anybody else know that?
I was here at the stadium first.
He wasn't a very happy manager.
Ted Williams. Ted
Lost a
Williams
lot
was
of
the
games.
first manager of the Texas Rangers.
Well, he wasn't very happy.
Here's one, all right. When was the All-Star game played in Metroplex?
95.
You had your hand up.
I
but
know.
You didn't shout out the answer.
Cause you recall.
July, what is
Oh, you didn't just shout out the answer.
95, right.
95. Who won it? Who won it first? I'm not winning. I'm not playing.
And in fact, just my personal word here is that the shirt that is hanging on the front of the speaker platform is a 95 All-Star Game volunteer shirt.
Is this the winner?
Yeah, Greg said it first.
Hit me.
I raised my hand.
Yes, you did. No, you didn't say that.
I raised.
Now, Terry didn't like this one, but I added one additional one here because we gotta have one more for one more ball. When did the Dallas Stars win the Stanley Cup?
94. Who cares?
When?
97.
No.
95. 84.
They're baseball fans.
There's a reason I picked on
One more chance.
They're baseball fans.
99.
99 is the answer, but you're ineligible.
Well, I know you were there.
We'll figure out something else for this.
We'll figure out one more.
All right.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
I wanted to tell you a little bit about how I fell into this because really nobody deserves a job like this. It's kind of a dream job. I was working at big law firms for 11 years, and that's not a dream job. If you're not a lawyer in a law firm, 300 lawyers, it's not fun every day. So I had a friend that worked at another law firm, left to go to work for Tom Hicks's company, Hicks Estate and First, which is a venture capital company. And I told her I know Hicks buys a lot of companies. If you're ever looking for an HR person, keep me in mind. Well, I got this call from her a year later, and she said, "You're going to get a call from a guy at Southwest Sports Group." Hadn't ever heard of that organization, but as Mike was telling you at the beginning, they owned the Dallas Stars. They just bought the Texas Rangers in 1999. They had a rodeo, a TV station, Channel 39, and I interviewed for the job with this organization, and I didn't get it. They hired a woman from Six Flags who had been there for 17 years, and she'd been hiring a lot of seasonal people, which we hire a lot of seasonal people. She'd been there about 17 years. They hired her, and I thought, well, you know, it's a lost cause. It was a great time to interview. About 10 days later, I get a call from the guy that I interviewed with, and he said, "You remember me? This is Joe Arms." And I said, "Yeah, Joe, I think you heard the wrong HR guy because you've lost 10 games in a row." And he said, "Funny you should say that. They've hired her back. Six Flags offered her a job to come back. And so the offer is still there if you'd like to have it." And so I said, "Well, you made the right offer. If they wanted her back, she must be pretty good." And so, no, she was not. I tell you that. She was raising llamas in her backyard or something. That's another story. But anyway, I got to tell you a rodeo story. It has nothing to do with baseball, but after this story, you tell me what this has to do with the rest of my speech. We had a rodeo, the Mesquite Championship Rodeo, and I guess it was just the championship of Mesquite because I don't know what else it was a championship of. But we had a guy that ran it that was from North Dakota. He was 6'5", starched jeans, cowboy hat. Looked like he was about 7 feet tall. And he didn't tell me this story, but Neil Gay, if you know anything about rodeos, Neil Gay was an 8-time bull riding champion.
Donnie Gay?
Oh yeah, Donnie, Neil was dad. Yeah, Donnie. Donnie told this story about this guy, and he said that PETA, you know what PETA is? You know, I just thought they made bread, but I think they yeah. They were going to picket the rodeo because they didn't like the way they were treating the animals. And Jack said, "I don't know, these animals only work once a month. I don't know what the deal is. We treat them a lot better. He poured this plate of barbecue behind him, and treat them a lot better than these guys." And but PETA said they were going to picket the rodeo. And Jack told them, "Well, we own all the land between the rodeo and LBJ." And they said, "Well, we're going to picket right up there by the front door. Are you going to call the police?" Now, I can't tell you exactly what Jack said. This is a Methodist men's group. He said, "No, we're not going to call the police. We got 75 cowboys in here. We're just going to kick your bobo." Something like that. So I got this job in '99, and what I'm involved with is what he's talked about, but also do all the insurance for the players. If we sign a multi-year player to multi-year contract, and we're going to insure that contract because the player contracts are guaranteed. If the night we signed A-Rod, he went out and celebrated and got killed, or he couldn't play, we still owed him or his estate $247 million. So that's one of the things I do. And I saw your Beltray,
Two of them.
Beltray jersey. I was there the day that we did the physical for Beltray for his contract. And we have to have what they call independent examiners, because if you just use your team doctors before you put your insurance in force, they think you have some home cooking there. So you get an independent examiner. Flew this guy in from Pittsburgh, and he told me on the way out that Beltray has more muscle pound for pound than any athlete ever examined. They can include every football player. He's done Pittsburgh Steelers, and just a phenomenal specimen. And that's how he does what he does. He played the end of one season with a torn ligament in his thumb, and just said, "Tape it up." You know, I think you're going to need those from time to time. So speaking of A-Rod, the day we signed A-Rod, I'd gone to a small claims court. Anybody remember? We remember A-Rod, even though he's retired, right? Yeah. I'd gone to a small claims court with one of our new lawyers, and she, by the way, is the one that invited me to play at the Masters. I'd gone with her, she just started, and we'd been to a small claims court for somebody that wanted to sue us over some piddly thing. We got a call to go to the Anatole, and because they were having the winter meetings in Dallas that year at the Anatole. And go to room 558, Johnny Oates answered the phone, answered the door, and Scott Burris, the Antichrist, as we like to call him in the agent business, was in there with Doug Melvin negotiating this deal. And it was on a piece of notebook paper, literally. And they handed that to me, and I've been with the Rangers about a year at that point, and she's been with them even less period of time. And she handed him a sheet of paper and said, "Can you insure this?" Because I'm doing the insurance, but I said, "Oprah only has $100 million. This is $150 million." And it was really a 20-year deal. It was money in the first year, was deferred to the 11th year, and the 12th year to the 13th year. And so it was really a 20-year deal. That was also the first time I met Tom Hicks, and I said, he said, "Well, the present value of this is only $187 million." And I said, "Well, I can only insure about half of that." He said, "Well, we self-insure the rest." And I said, "We?" Mostly you. It's not nearly that big. When I worked for the law firms, he's ratted me out about where I went to college. I went to college over here at East Texas in Commerce. Went straight through. And when I worked at the law firms, I would always tell the lawyers that I went to school back east. They wouldn't ask me, because they were afraid my back east might be more snooty than their back east, and so that was all they ever asked. I said, "I went to school back east." But one of the current owners, who is a wonderful guy, he's an oil and gas guy, but he's from Longview, and his name's Ray Davis, and I was telling him that story, and he said, "My daughter, when she went to TCU, she told him she was from L.A., Longview area." Okay, I want to tell you about, you remember Frankie Francisco, the guy that threw the chair, broke a woman's nose in Oakland. We were in the middle of a tough playoff fight with Oakland. We were right down to the wire, and we were playing a game out there, and it was a late game, so I went to bed, and but I got a call the next morning from a friend of mine that was in Africa, and he said, "I saw this on ESPN. Your player threw a chair and broke a woman's nose in Oakland. Well, what do you think our chances are of resolving a lawsuit in Oakland for Texas Rangers Baseball Club?" Every time we make an offer to the other side, they would raise their offer. It's like a broken nose, lady. I mean, what's that worth? We know we broke it. Well, apparently there are things that you can say to people that are not that don't violate the code of ethics in your fan code. This guy just sat down by the. Have you ever been to Oakland Stadium? It's a football stadium. It's not a baseball stadium, and so it's just like they play baseball there, but they shouldn't. And so the bullpen is close as you and I are to get to each other. And this guy bought tickets just so he could heckle the guys in our bullpen. And about the 7th or 8th inning, he would just talk about, okay, which one of you guys are going to go out and lose the ball game this time? And finally, he said something about. When are you guys going to go back to your dirty little countries? We had we had 3 guys really good from the Dominican. Well, that set them off, and it should. I mean, you can say things. There's certain things you can say they're not vulgar, but you just can't say those things. And so that's when Doug Brookhill got kind of exercised, and then everybody kind of got together, he threw this chair in hopes of breaking up the fight, which, as it turned out, hit her in it was a little bitty chair. It's probably like these chairs. Probably doesn't weigh 2 pounds, but just hit her in the bridge of the nose. The next thing you know, she's on. She's got a patch the size of a bread box, and she's on ESPN. Even though she's really nervous about it and real shy, but she's on ESPN.
I'm a new millionaire now.
Yeah, well, close. But I mean, we couldn't settle it. Every time we'd make an offer, they'd raise it. That's the only time I've ever gotten thrown out of a lawyer's office. Well, maybe not the only, one of the few times I've been thrown out of a lawyer's office. That wasn't our office, my own office. Because I had a deposition, and the first question, he got thrown out of the office on the second question. And the first question is, state your name and address. And the second question is, Mr. Bueno, his name was Bueno, but he wasn't. Have you ever been deposed before? Well, yes, he had. He didn't want to talk about it. So, and that was kicked out. So, it took us 4 years to get that settled. Because it just, every time we make an offer, look, lady, it's a broken nose. What's it worth? 25, 30? Who's had their nose fixed? Not me. No, I'm just questioning. Don't really answer that question. But it's not a big expense. But it, we knew we were liable, but we just couldn't get it settled. I will tell you a story that happened just this year. We had went to an event over in Fort Worth. George W. Bush was speaking, and it was some kind of transportation thing. And we just went, because we had bought a table through the foundation. And there was about a dozen of us went over there, and John Daniels was one of the guys that went, and the Secret Service come out and drag him over away from us. And I thought, well, I wonder what he's done. But then he comes back and he said, what did he want? He says, well, George wanted to know what you're going to do about Profar. And I said, what do you think I ought to do? So, that's some inside baseball stuff. This is one of my favorite stories of. We went to. I got to go to 2 World Series. Here's my American League championship ring. I got 2 of those. I mean, you just can't make that stuff up. My wife gets to go. There's a Valentine thing. She said to be sure and tell everybody that one of her favorite expressions is, because she's been to the World Series and she gets to go to spring training, and she'll start saying something to me, and I'll think, oh, this is going to really be sweet, and she'll say, I really love your job. You've been to San Francisco to the World Series? We went to San Francisco, and we were going to take 90 of our employees with us. And there's a lot of logistics in doing that, because you don't know where you're going until the end until you qualify, and you don't know if you're even going, and you don't know who can go, because some people have to stay back and get ready because you're going to come back and play a game in a couple of days. And so we had booked a room at a hotel in San Francisco that was in the airport, and we just booked it for one night because we had a night game and then a day game, and then we were just going to leave. So we had 90 rooms reserved. Well, this doctor's group came in and wanted to rent the hotel for 7 days. Well, we gave it to them. So 2 days before we have to be there, but they've got 90 people, got a charter flight. We didn't have a place for people to stay. So we called the Chamber of Commerce, and I called the Giants, and they were very, very accommodating. And as it turned out, the New York Yankees had reserved 80 rooms at the Fairmont Hotel. They wouldn't be needing them. We eliminated them. The day we eliminated the Yankees, probably my greatest day of thrill in sports. A guy perfect stranger chest bumped me on the concourse. I agree with you. I'm with you. People used to, and I know you won't believe this, but people confused me with Nolan sometimes. Particularly, people would go out there and they expect to see Nolan, and so they see me. Even somebody sent a Twitter or something. I was eating at the Wendy's or someplace, but I had my ring on, and somebody said, "Look, Nolan's at the Wendy's, and he's just having lunch by himself." No, but people would stop me in the on the crosswalk going to the my parking space and say, "I just want to shake your hand." Okay. Not that big a deal, but I don't. Who am I to crush their world? If they want to go back and tell people they had shook hands with Nolan at lunchtime, I don't want to be that guy. Another Nolan story. Nolan was in baseball for 25 years, so he could tell a story every day and never tells the same one. He was so good at it. He was a freak of nature, Nolan. We asked him, when did you learn that you could throw a baseball hard? He said, well, in junior high we had some of the skills contests, and I threw a softball 300 feet. That's pretty good. We played a softball tournament at the end of the season. If we weren't in postseason, and we'd rather be in postseason. But we did, and we played a softball. And he would always play, and he would pitch. He'd want to pitch, of course, and who's to say he couldn't? And so it's just slow pitch, mixed softball. But just to tell you how competitive the guy was, I missed the first games one time. I had to attend a funeral for one of our employees, and so I got there after the first round had been played, and I went up to say, how'd you do in the first? He said, my defense let me down. So there was a girl on that other team that got a hit off of me, and she got a hit off of me 3 years ago when we played before. He's probably going to knock her down the next time. They asked him, he and Gaylord Perry one time in one of these question and answer things. By the way, I'll answer questions for you in a few minutes if you have any that I can answer. Some things I can't answer probably, but we're going to spring training, right now. So I'm going to spring training. My wife's family always goes, and so we go for 2 or 3 days. It's just, if you haven't ever been, the grass is almost blue. It's so green out there, and it's just a lot more relaxing. You get a lot closer to players. And I recommend you go if you're a baseball fan at all. But anyway, where was I going with that story? You don't know? You're paying attention, I can tell.
Gaylord Perry.
Nolan. So they were interviewing Gaylord and Nolan, and they asked Gaylord if he thought people were stealing his signs, and he had no clue if anybody was ever trying to steal his signs. You know what stealing signs are? Probably most of you. It's an advantage if the other team can figure out what you're throwing, to know what to expect. So teams try to steal those. They try to figure out what signs mean, that sort of thing, or just look into the catcher, and try to figure it out. So Gaylord had no clue. They asked Nolan if people were stealing his signs. He said, well, if we thought people were stealing our signs, Sonny, which meant Sunberg would set up low and outside, and I'd buzz one high and inside. And they wouldn't try to steal them anymore. You're leaning out over the plate, and it's coming in at 100 of your ear hole. You just don't want any of that. All right. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask me?
How much time do you have?
Got a 2-hour drive.
I've got one little bit of information for you. This gentleman sitting right here caught Norman Ryan in high school.
Really? Were you from Alvin, Texas.
Really?
Warm up.
Wow.
He could bring it, couldn't he?
It hurts.
Well, speaking of Alvin, we had a guy fall out of the stands a few years ago. We had two actually, but the first guy that fell out of the stands was a fireman, and I was there that night, and then that falls into my purview to all the general liability claims as well as the player claims. And so I was there, and I always look when a foul ball goes into the stands because people can get hurt. There's no, when you're winning 90 games, there aren't any empty seats. They're going to hit somebody and hurt somebody probably. So this ball went over his head, and he tried to catch it on the way back, and he just went. He was in the second deck, and they passed the first level of suites and all the way down into the bottom. It was a 30-foot fall. That was anything over 18 feet is a fatal fall. And he landed kind of on his all fours on a woman and bounced off hard enough to break a chair in front of him, and he was out of the hospital in a couple of days.
But the woman was hurt.
No, she wasn't hurt at all. And those people below could have been killed easily. He was a 200-pound guy. He was a husky fireman. The reason I tell that story is the kids were in town for a baseball tournament in North Dallas, and they were from Alvin, Texas. Well, what's the odds of that? And so we took the kids to a suite because we wanted them to have a good memory of the ballpark, not that thing. They didn't really see it because it happened behind them. Nolan came up and signed some baseball. They had ice cream and hot dogs. But what are the odds that... And no one was seriously hurt. And the other guy, of course, wasn't as fortunate. But
That was Bader, wasn't it?
That was Lake Dallas, Texas, wasn't it?
what was that?
He was from Lake Dallas, Texas.
The first fireman?
Yeah.
Some little town, I think of that, over that direction.
Yeah.
He was a fireman, but I think he maybe was a fireman from Lake Dallas, but he lived somewhere else, like in some other little town over toward Corsicana,
I think people
Cleveland.
that knew him.
Did you?
Yeah.
He did fine. Nolan at that point decided we're not going to have that ever happen again. So our rails are higher than any other rails in any sporting event. They're 42 inches tall, which is the length, is the height of rails at the end of the aisle. If you're walking down, you'll notice they go like, kind of go like this, while ours are all like that. They're 42. Because people, men and women both, their centers of gravity are higher than the code's 36 inches. Well, that just catches your eye about right here. And if you're leaning out, and ours is the only sport where people are engaged like that, try to catch a ball, and so if you get too far committed, they just go. So that won't have to happen to us again. Yes, sir.
You gonna bring Napoli back?
Not till, yes, he's already been signed. His physical's tomorrow. I assume he'll pass it. Yeah.
Good deal. Annapolis sure to be good again.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been in like 10 World Series in a row.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Are you like an insurance guy?
You buy
You
some?
sleeping through the
I've been like hearing like money and people getting caught and you just that guy. So are you insurance people for that team?
Yeah,
How do you get a ring if you got insurance?
I'm actually on the payroll. I'm not the agent, I buy the insurance.
So you do buy the agent?
I buy the insurance. Actually, right now, we're in the process of looking at a new stadium. I'm on that design committee for the new stadium, and we're looking at buying insurance for the construction for the new stadium. That's a big deal.
builder's risk.
Pardon me?
Builder's risk.
Builder's risk, professional liability, yeah.
That's the question I was gonna ask you. What's happening with the stadium?
Well, it passed 60-40. I worried a little bit about it being part of a general election, but it passed 60-40 pretty easily. We're in the design phase right now, and then we'll get contractors to do some bidding. Right now, we're just looking at what's the roof going to look like. it's a fascinating process. We're in a room with about a dozen architects, and they all have kind of a specialty. You know, this one's a roofer, and this is you know, they got one that's an expert on the grass, because we're gonna try to grow real grass in there. And one of the computer models says, look, if this is where the sun will be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on June 2nd, 2020. Well, I hope I'm even able to look at the game. I'm not even buying green bananas. So he said if we just turn the stadium 18 degrees, we get a lot more sun. And they can do it at this point because it's not haven't moved any dirt. So it'll be kind of, right now, they say, unless we change it dramatically, it'll be kind of the same theme with the arches. The arches will be twice as high, because you got to get the roof up on that top of that of those arches. And so you know, they've got all these models of here's all the foul balls that have been hit in the last century and where they would land. And
Where's it gonna be built at?
it's just south of this current one, probably 200 feet up the hill.
What happens to the old stadium?
Well, we don't have to decide yet. We're going to be playing it for 2 or 3 years. There's some talk about it's very well built. There's a lot of infrastructure underground that you don't see. There's a lot of reason to keep that in place. There's some talk about putting apartments on top of the upper deck. Just you could have parking below and nice place to live, and because they're going to have restaurants and hotels and stuff there. We're building those too.
Oh, wow. That would be
What a deal.
It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Here it is.
What's the seating capacity of the new stadium? Is it less?
Probably 42. Right now we're at 48 or 9. Standing room is 50. Standing room might be 45, but it's going to have a lot more premium seats, a lot wider seats. I don't know why they were wider, but they'll be, most of them will be 22. Now they're 18, so you'll have a lot more room, and you can eat more hot dogs. All right, that's my 20 minutes.
Barry, we thank you so very much.